Welcome to His Majesty's Naval Base in Portsmouth.
For hundreds of years, this place has been the home of the Royal Navy, and a whopping 2/3 of our nation's fleet are based here.
This is a remarkable place. Thousands of servicemen and women pass through here every week. The biggest vessels in the Navy set sail from here. There's £12 billion worth of warships and millions of pounds worth of weapons and enough food to feed a Navy. Not to mention the hundreds of staff and crew that live in and around the base.
We're here at a time of serious international tension, when the Royal Navy has never been busier. And they've given us access across the entire fleet.
That's pretty extraordinary.
Signal up all lines, let go midship.
It's a very good workout.
Across 3 special programmes, we're lifting the lid on what life is really like in Britain's Navy today.
I was you 20 years ago and got to the end of it and joined the greatest club on earth.
Dinner is served. This is catering on a humongous scale.
Welcome to life in the Royal Navy. In this episode, JJ steps on board a ship that looks like it belongs in a James Bond film rather than the Navy.
Look at this thing. If that doesn't look like the future of the Royal Navy, what does?
Parking a 65,000-ton ship is definitely not a simple exercise.
It's literally all hands on deck as HMS Prince of Wales enters a foreign port.
What a sight, coming into Rotterdam on an aircraft carrier. You don't see this every day.
JJ learns what life was like for sailors on a famous Tudor warship.
Every day, each man was allowed 8 pints of beer.
Where are they toileting? Oh, that's cold. And I take part in one of the toughest training courses in the world with the Royal Marines Commandos. Everything's hurting.
Come on! JJ!
Hello and welcome to our amazing home aboard HMS 7 alongside in Portsmouth.
Now, throughout the series, we have been taking an in-depth look into the incredible world of the Royal Navy.
And we've got something really special this week because JJ has been going back to his Royal Marine roots, and the pressure's really on you, not the new recruits this time.
Yes, I've been lucky enough to spend time with one of the latest batches of recruits taking on one of the most intense military training courses in the world as they prepare to take on the gruelling commando course. But I don't know how ready I was to have the tables turned on me. The Commando Training Centre in Lympstone in Devon is where the career of every Royal Marine begins. Raw recruits are turned into elite commandos in a 36-week course that's widely regarded as the toughest of its kind in the world.
Last move! Faster, let's go!
I completed my commando training 18 years ago. I left in 2016 after I was wounded in Afghanistan. But there's an old saying, once a Royal Marine, always a Royal Marine. I've not been down here since I was a sprightly 18-year-old, and I've had some absolute shocking days out there at the hands of men like that.
JJ, what's happening, lad?
All right, Royal. Sergeant Thomas Merriman, affectionately known as Ginge, is a Royal Marines Commando and a physical training instructor.
What's going on?
You know, just coming back for old time's sake.
Why do you want to come back here, mate?
To see how much has changed.
You want to do a rope climb, don't you?
Honestly, my arms would come off if I had a go at this, like.
I don't know. How's your legs?
90%
90?
of a normal person. Probably not what I used to be.
Well, 90% of a normal boot neck is probably about 200% of a civvy, so... Fancy an endurance course?
Mate, I reckon I could just about drag myself around that.
Nah, you'll be all right.
Yeah, although I don't have any kit.
Don't worry about that. I got some kit.
Come
on, let's go.
Trying to find excuses.
Yeah, whatever. Come on.
The endurance course that I've just been challenged to take part in is actually one of the 4 final tests facing all recruits at the end of their time here. It's the ultimate test of fitness, stamina, and mindset. A run through 6.5 miles of muddy paths, bogs and obstacles. Time to put my suit back on. Feel like a superhero. Pass them all and you become a Royal Marines Commando. Fail, like around 40% of those who try, and you go back to Civvy Street. As you can see, this doesn't quite work like it used to, but I like to think this does. So we'll see how we get on. The last time I did this test was when my body was in tip-top condition. But after being blown up by an IED in Afghanistan, I'm not quite the man I used to be. It's not just that I kind of lost my fitness. My body has been completely rebuilt back when I got injured. So, you know, don't be fooled. My pins don't quite work like they used to. I can imagine this is going to hurt a bit. But it's not going to stop me, because that's the thing about pain. Ugh, you just kind of got to push through it a wee bit, because you don't want it stopping you doing the things you love in life. And for some strange reason, I love doing this kind of thing. I'm one of the first survivors of an IED blast to take on this challenge, which also requires me to wear military-issue boots, a belt weighing 21 pounds, and a rifle. This is the leveler. Doesn't matter how fit you think you are. It's that old classic. Yeah, you can run around in trainers. Can you run around in boots? Can you run around with weight? And you can do it when you're absolutely soaked through. To pass, you've got to complete it in under 73 minutes. No exceptions. Oh, what am I doing? Don't get me wrong. Seems like a good idea right now. Probably not in a couple hours though.
What was going through your head? You've already done one of the most difficult things in the world, and you're about to do it again 18 years later.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm twice the age I was when I did it, but I had just as much bravado as I did when I did it the first time. Basically, I think my ego had written a check that my body may or may not be able to cash, and I was about to find out.
Well, I can't wait to see how you got on. And here's what else we've got coming up in the programme later. JJ steps on board a ship that looks like it belongs in a spy film.
Look at this thing. If that doesn't look like the future of the Royal Navy, what does? Put him on there! And find out how I got on when I took on the ultimate commando endurance test.
Stand and breathe. Move me. You good?
Good.
That's good.
Good's not the word. Hello and welcome back to Warship, Life in the Royal Navy, and our wonderful home here on HMS Severn. Now, take a look at this. This is the GPMG, the General Purpose Machine Gun. It is used to protect the ship when things get a little bit close for comfort. It is a highly reliable weapon system that is beloved by those that use her, and for good reason. I'm not going to lie, this thing helped get me out of trouble a good few times in Afghanistan. Now, it can trace its design all the way back to the Second World War, and it's had some improvements and adaptations over the years, but the world is changing, and we are starting to see new technologies like remote-controlled drones being used on the front line. As technology advances, the way wars are fought have been changing and evolving. Over the last century, the Royal Navy has gone from firing shells from big guns to missiles, but now there are new technologies on the horizon that could change the face of naval warfare once again. In Ukraine, remote-control devices in the air and in the sea have altered the battlefield, as you can see here. Small drones carrying grenades, bombs, and even mines have been dropped on Russian forces, many controlled by a pilot sitting miles away in safety, looking at a computer screen. As the war in Ukraine rages, a special organisation called Navy X is testing similar cutting-edge equipment. Designed to be launched from warships or submarines, it could change the way the Navy here goes to war. Navy X's mysterious vessel, the XV Patrick Blackett, is a testing platform for these new military technologies. Look at this thing. If that doesn't look like the future of the Royal Navy, what does? Commanding Officer Michael Hutchinson and his small crew are tasked with the job of testing the weapons of the future.
This is the bridge.
Wow, this is impressive. Their orders are to help create fully remote-controlled attack boats capable for use in real wars. So what are you guys doing today then?
We've got an autonomous seaboat, standard seaboat for the Royal Navy, but we've got one that's specially rigged with a remote control system. So we're going to go and have a look at that.
When you say we, am I included in the we?
Yeah, I'll teach you to drive it and then you can have a go.
Amazing. This is the new Navy X prototype, the APAC. Its control system and sensors mean that operators can both drive it and fire the weapons from far away with no one on board.
We've set the boat up, ready to get it going.
But as it's still in a testing phase, today we're close by on the Patrick Blackett. This is like a video game control, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah, and it's got various displays by going in through the pages. We've got the dashboard, our engine controls.
I've seen this stuff, I've seen it on land, you know, even from movies you've seen them on drones in the air, but I've never seen this on a boat.
Most people haven't. This is the first time I've seen it too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Only a handful of people have been allowed to have a go with this technology, thanks to how closely guarded it is.
So you got forward and backwards, left and right.
I have control.
You have control.
Oh dear Lord, are you kidding me? Right, come on. Forward now.
A gentle turn to port now.
Whoa. That was meant to be a gentle turn.
That'll do.
This state-of-the-art attack boat can race across waters at speeds of over 40 miles an hour and attack with pinpoint precision. The idea is that soon they could be an addition to every warship in the fleet. Oh, you've overcrossed. I'm pointing in the completely wrong way now. I need to go forward.
If you're going to crash into a ship, make sure it's not the black one.
Right. Aim for the grey ones, yeah?
Well, then, let's not aim for them.
The APAC is only one of the innovative pieces of equipment being tested by the Royal Navy.
In your own time, engage.
They're also working on unmanned aircraft and submersible drones. Wait for the box. Engage. I tell you what, if I was to rejoin, this is the job I'd be looking for now.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
More fool me. I used to get cold, wet and tired for a living. Little did I know there were jobs like this going. With drones in the skies and seas around Ukraine having so much success against Russian tanks, artillery and warships, it's little wonder why Navy X are looking at them as potential weapons of the future. And it might not be long before a Royal Navy sailor with a remote control in their hand could use one on the battlefield. We are talking about this as the future, but the reality is this sort of stuff is being deployed in places like Ukraine right now.
Yeah, it is, and it's effective. And it's important that we develop technology like this that keeps the people out of harm's way as much as humanly possible.
It's often said that new technologies are vital when it comes to winning wars. The ability to drop bombs or fire weapon systems from miles away make them low cost and low risk. So it is clear that drones and other autonomous equipment is going to play a vital role in the battlefields of the future. Now, I'm in the dockyard at Portsmouth, and from right here I can see a number of modern warships. Over there is a Type 45 destroyer, it's HMS Dragon. We've got HMS Prince of Wales moored up alongside. Now, when a warship reaches the end of its service, it can either be sold to another nation or it can be scrapped and recycled, but not all of them. So Julia has headed off to London to check out one of the 20th century's most iconic warships for us.
London, our capital city and home to some of the most iconic sites in the world.
But there's a landmark that has a very special place in Royal Naval history, and it's moored up right here on the Thames. I am, of course, talking about HMS Belfast. Belfast came into service just before the start of World War II, but disaster struck just 2 months in when she hit a German mine. The damage was so severe, some wondered if she'd ever see service again. But nearly 3 years later, she was back at sea. And this giant ship went on to play a crucial role in the thick of the action on D-Day. A big ship needs a big crew, and HMS Belfast is massive. She was built to travel thousands of miles and be totally self-sufficient. Roger Ornford served on Belfast in the early 60s, but it's still his favourite warship. Hello, Roger.
Hello.
Welcome back on board.
It was my first ship, so it was magic. It was a real eye-opener and an introduction to the Royal Navy, as it was.
I imagine you don't get lost on board.
No, no. I spend a lot of time on board. Let me show you the areas. This is the lockers we used to put our kit in.
So this is where you used to sleep?
Yes, just round the corner.
It's really spacious. I'm
It
surprised.
is. There's a lot of room. We used to sleep in this one, and it was nice and comfortable. I can't remember who slept underneath, but I'd be stepping on him to get into the bunk.
Self-sufficiency is key for warships out at sea for long periods of time, and that means a lot of jobs that might not seem obvious. The clothing store was where spare uniforms were kept for sailors in need of an urgent replacement.
I used to work down here, this clothing store, but I haven't been in this store since 1961. That was the last time I was in there, yes.
But why don't you just go and sneak in there?
Well, that would be magic if I could do that.
Go on, do it.
Just wonderful just to be back in here. You know, it's taken me back 60-odd years. My little desk was in the corner there, and I could sit there, write letters home. So I spent a lot of time in here, and it's
amazing.
Really magic.
HMS Belfast was like a floating city, with a whole community to look after. It even had its own fully equipped sick bay. Commodore Inga Kennedy was a senior medic and, at the time she retired, the Navy's highest-ranking female officer.
The space in here is actually not that much different from a sick bay on a modern ship. The equipment is more modern, but the size and shape of it is very similar.
Is there one thing, do you think, that's been introduced that's changed everything medically?
So, lots of things have happened together, but there's one thing for me that comes to mind, and that is something called the combat application tourniquet.
Tourniquets to stop blood loss are not new, but they were often just makeshift leather straps. The difference now with this Velcro version is that it can be administered by anyone, including yourself. It may not seem like much, but it has become a game changer on the battlefield, saving thousands of lives.
So if you can imagine that you have a significant injury in your lower left arm.
Right, so here.
Yep, so down there. So here we are. We would slip this on, put it above the level of the injury, and merely you can pull this, pull it tight. This here is called a windlass.
Right.
And what you're going to do is wind it up and keep winding that until the bleeding stops.
Who would have thought that this would be such a lifesaver?
So much has changed since the days HMS Belfast was in commission, from advances in technology to healthcare. And since Roger's time, there's been another big change.
I used to look after the rum issue, so let me show you where we used to issue the rum.
Issue?
With sailors away from home for many months at a time, they're still officially allowed alcohol rations, though today it tends to be a small can of beer instead of a tot of rum.
What now, looking back on it, what was the rationale for having a rum issue on board?
In the 1700s, you used to carry beer because water would go off quick. You could use that for longer, same as wine. But when they got to the Caribbean, rum was the favourite for the sailors in those days, so that's where the rum came from. And if you're going to climb a mast in a storm, you want some kind of dust courage, don't you?
The Navy stopped the rum issue in 1970 after concerns that sailors would have unsteady hands when using machinery. But even a lack of rum couldn't hold back Roger's drive and passion for life at sea.
I'd definitely do it again if I could, but without rum, that might be different.
Different times.
Different times, absolutely.
It is remarkable to take a look at what life was like for a sailor back then.
It's also very interesting how much has changed in just a few decades and how little has changed as well.
It is very true. Biggest tragedy, though, taking away the rum ration.
I'm not so sure tipsy sailors looking after the nation.
It's good for morale.
If you say so.
Here's what's coming up after the break.
JJ learns what life was like for sailors on a famous Tudor warship.
Every day, each man was allowed 8 pints of beer.
Where are they toileting?
Well, this is the question everyone wants to ask but doesn't dare to normally.
I'm like a kid.
3, 2, 1, go!
And my time has come.
Let's go.
Where's he going? To see if I still have what it takes to complete the Commando endurance course. This is hurt. But it'll be my pride that hurts if I don't get there.
Hello, welcome back. Earlier in the programme, we saw JJ thrown in at the deep end when he went back to commando training in Devon. And you faced the ultimate test. I mean, it's one of the toughest in the world.
Yeah, I bumped into Ginge, who's one of the physical training instructors down there, and he challenged me to take on the endurance course, which is one of the final tests that recruits have to, well, endure. It's in the title. And I thought I'd say yes.
Here's what happened.
It's been almost a decade since I left the Royal Marines. One of Britain's elite fighting forces.
Get yourself ready to go. Good lad.
But I'm back, and now I'm here to prove to myself that I've still got what it takes to conquer the infamous endurance course. Aside from my heart racing already, the butterflies are back. So last time I did this, I was 18 years old. That was 18 years ago. Obviously wasn't as disabled as I am these days, but I had the same mind. Coming back to Livingston is one thing. Coming back to this is a whole different challenge. But you know what? It feels right. Like, you can't come down here and just talk about it. Yeah, you gotta go through with it. To pass, recruits must complete the course in under 73 minutes and score 6 out of 10 on a rifle range.
Got in 30 seconds, mate. You ready?
Yeah, ready as I'll ever be. 18 years ago, I did this in 63 minutes. But now, I don't even know how my body will hold up, or if I'll even make it round.
Going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
There's a whole series of obstacles, and they all come in the first terrifying 2.5 miles of the course.
Let's go.
Where's he going?
Straight through, kid.
First shock, waist deep in water, and you've got to keep your weapon dry.
Oh, that's cold. Come on, son, let's go. Keep going.
Then, the sheep dip.
Let's go. Have a moment. Have a minute. Think about where you are. Think about that head. Head clearance, okay? No head on that. Feel for my hand. It's on your timings. Look your head. Look at your head.
Go back. Yeah.
3, 2, 1, go. Put him on there. Yeah. Stand and breathe. With me. With me. You good?
Excuse me.
Let's go.
Good's not the word. To be a commando, you must be able to endure feeling cold and wet for extended periods of time.
Come on, let's work, let's work.
That's what this course is about.
I'm gonna say, my legs feel like concrete, but my whole body feels like concrete.
And there's more concrete ahead. The dreaded Smarty Tubes are 30-foot-long pipes, only just big enough to squeeze through.
Come on, Jay, let's go. We gotta work hard, mate. Come on, let's go. Turn that mind off. Let's go. All the way through. No, it's not. It's worse than that. Take it out. You know you'll never leave this place, mate. We didn't ask you to come back. We've got a gravitational pull on you. They just keep pulling you back. Come on, let's go. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close, mate. You want to get the tunnels done in 20 minutes if you can. Show us what you've got, mate. Come on. Come on. Let's go. All the way out. Come on, son. Good lad. Right, that's it. Tunnel's complete. Let's go now. Show me what these legs can do.
I made it through the obstacles, and I'm still in with a chance. Now, all that stands between me and the finish line is a 4-mile run, in soaking wet clothes.
Just over 20 minutes, about 22 minutes left. So, need to open it up. Need to turn this off, come on! JJ!
This is a lonely part. You're in your own head. Everything's hurting. But with my pride that hurts, if I don't get there.
Come on. Come on, we got this, mate. Come on, JJ. Come on, JJ. Let's push it. Last little bit. Keep going all the way in. Have a minute, son. Son.
Couldn't have another day, pal.
Did well, though.
Thanks, mate.
You did well. How's that knee?
Yeah, that's all.
But have I met the required time to pass this commando test?
Successful. 79 minutes.
I'm not gonna lie, my pride hurts from not making the time. And you can use all the excuses in the book, twice as old, and 10 times as disabled, but up here, it just doesn't feel right. I don't know if I thought I could do it. There's definitely an 18-year-old JJ Chalmers in the back of my head that thought he could. The Royal Marines are some of the toughest fighters in the world, physically and mentally. What they do each day fills me with pride, and I'll be forever proud of what I achieved as one of them.
What I didn't see today was that stop. I didn't see that stop at one point. You carried on going, all right? You could have quite easily, at the start, you quite nearly pulled out, and at the end you nearly pulled out, but you didn't, you carried on going. And that is what's important about being a commando. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Say that with you.
Means the world.
I mean that, mate. All right, you've not failed anyone. Don't think that.
Right, help me train for it next time.
Oh, I've got to give you a hug. You did amazingly.
Oh, thanks, pal.
When you were there, did you have any idea about the time? I mean, does it feel like 2 hours or does it feel like 2 minutes? I know the pain is immense.
It feels like a lifetime. Going into it, I thought to myself, if I can get round that first part, all the tunnels and stuff, and you know, get round that, I would hang on for dear life for the 4 miles back to camp. The truth is, Once I was fully submerged and went to run up that hill, my brain said, like, let's go! And my body just went, that's not happening, pal.
We ain't doing that today.
So for that point, I was hanging on for dear life. And it was just bloody mindedness that got me there. And actually, like, as grim as that was, serving in the Navy almost half a millennia ago was even worse. Serving for king and country could be pretty grim.
1982, off the coast of Portsmouth.
These timbers of the Mary Rose, flagship of the Tudor fleet, had not seen daylight since she foundered on this spot in July 1545.
The nation is gripped as a precious piece of maritime history is raised from the murky depths of the sea.
The Mary Rose broke the surface to the sounds of a celebration.
Millions of people watched on TV, and King Charles watched from a boat as the Mary Rose, a 16th century warship, came to the surface for the first time in 400 years.
The hull is priceless. When fully restored, it will give the nation an historic treasure on a par with Stonehenge.
For the last 40 years, she's been housed at this special museum in Portsmouth.
Hello.
Hello, pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. This is so impressive.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
Dr. Alex Hildred was part of the Mary Rose rescue team in 1982.
So you've been studying this for, what, 45 years. Is there much history to be gleaned from it?
Oh, absolutely. The ship in 1511, when she first sailed, was completely different. More hand-to-hand combat, more use of the archers. And when she sank in 1545, there were huge numbers of 25 tons of guns on the main gun deck alone.
The Mary Rose sank during a battle with the French on the 19th of July, 1545, 2 years before the death of Henry VIII. It's still a mystery exactly how she met her fate. But we know she was lost in a matter of minutes. Of the nearly 500 crew on board, only 35 survived.
So how do we believe that she sank in the first place?
Well, there are a whole load of potential ideas. A gust of wind, too many people, too many guns. But the best one, really, is the ship had fired the guns on one side of the ship and was turning to bring the guns on the other side of the ship to bear, and dipped her gun ports, which were open, too low, and water rushed in through the gun ports.
So this ship, in many ways, led to the birth of the Royal Navy?
Yes, it did, and it did it right here in Portsmouth. So Mary Rose was built in Portsmouth. She was based in Portsmouth a lot of the time, certainly when she was fighting, and then she sank defending Portsmouth from an armada. Portsmouth is now the home of the Royal Navy.
Since raising the ship from the sea floor, much more has been discovered about what life was like on board. Mike Wiles is a volunteer at the museum, and he's come dressed for the occasion.
Mike.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, shippers. I'm loving this outfit. Is this the sort of the rig of a sailor of the day?
Well, there were no uniforms in Henry VIII's time, so the men would go on board wearing their own clothes. And what I'm wearing is based on things found on the Mary Rose. Some examples of woolen caps like this. Underneath it, I'm wearing a garment called a coif, made of linen, very good at absorbing sweat. And the shoes I'm wearing are based on a shoe found on the orlop deck. I'm appearing in the character of a gunner, gun captain, so I'm carrying a tool known as a linstock, wrapped around with cord known as slow match, which would be used for setting off a gun. A sailor would need a knife. This is a typical, we have lots of these found on board. Of course, only the handles survive because the steel blades rusted away, but a vital piece of equipment for any sailor.
What was life like for a sailor on board?
It was dark, damp, cramped, smelly.
But there was one perk each sailor could look forward to.
Every day, each man was allowed 8 pints of beer, which is how much would go into a serving tankard like this.
What goes in must come out. Where are they toileting?
Well, this is the question everyone wants to ask but doesn't dare to normally.
I'm like a kid.
The evidence is very limited. Common sense would tell us during the days of the sailing navy, the heads were in the bow over the open sea, so all the waste goes in there and then the the cleansing action of the waves will take it away.
Even though life in the armed forces can be tough, but this doesn't sound like a very easy existence.
No, it was extremely hard and fraught with all kinds of dangers.
And it's not just the ship offering up a glimpse of the past. The actual site of the wreck has been a time capsule, and there have been some incredible finds. Even a skeleton of the ship's dog was discovered on the sea floor. Since the 1980s, nearly 20,000 items revealing how sailors lived so long ago have been discovered and studied from this single shipwreck off Britain's coast.
With the raising of just one ship from the bottom of the sea, I'm amazed about how much we've learned about Britain's naval history and how people fought and lived at the time. And just think, with thousands of shipwrecks still laying at the bottom of the sea, there's so much more to be uncovered.
Can't believe how well preserved that ship is, and just steeped in history. Those 500 sailors lost their lives just a few miles from here.
Yeah, it is remarkable. Here's what's coming up after the break.
Parking a 65,000-ton ship is definitely not a simple exercise.
Britain's biggest and most lethal warship is on its way into port in the Netherlands.
What a sight, coming into Rotterdam on an aircraft carrier. You don't see this every day.
We're back on the deck of HMS Severn. We're nearly at the end of our epic journey discovering the reality of life in the Royal Navy. But first, Julia has been out at sea on the colossal aircraft carrier HMS Prince of Wales. The crew invited her to spend 3 days with them. Let's see how she got on her final leg.
I've been on an adventure of a lifetime.
Oh, that is what they call jet wash.
Aboard the Navy's biggest, newest and most powerful warship, HMS Prince of Wales.
Dinner is served. This is catering on a humongous scale. Let's get these shining. You passed with flying colours. Well done. Clap on the back.
I've been here for 3 days, but the 1,400-strong crew haven't set foot on dry land for more than 6 weeks. Today, though, that's about to change.
Very excited to be invited to this big moment. Coming into port on an aircraft carrier. A first for me, that's for sure.
Britain's biggest and most lethal warship is on its way into port in the Netherlands. But this isn't a working visit. Known as a run ashore, the stop is designed purely to give the crew some R&R.
Officer of the watch, bridge, please.
Yes, please.
Captain Will Blackett is in charge of the welfare of all 1,400 people on board. It was his call to arrange this visit off the back of an extended time at sea.
This particular visit is entirely about resting people. It's a reward for the work we've just done. I mean, we've been at sea for nearly 6 weeks now. I don't know why I looked at my watch.
Long time.
But the Navy it's hard work. If you're a chef for 6 weeks, getting up every day, doing 3 meals for 1,000 people, if you're an engineer, sweating, working hard, why would you do it? It's not just about the pay, it's about the adventure, and this is an example of the adventure that you can have by being in the Navy.
It's important for everybody to be able to decompress and refresh and come back ready for all of this again.
Yeah. Ultimately, what we're trying to do here all the time is develop a team that are capable of going around the world doing difficult things. Downtime is part of building a team and building resilience, and that's what this is about.
But before the R&R can begin, there's just the small matter of safely parking a 284-metre-long aircraft carrier in a busy commercial port.
People will assume that this being the ship that it is, this is a pretty easy exercise. Berthing, because you've got all the mod cons, it's an aircraft carrier, but that's not necessarily the case.
No, it's definitely not the case. Parking a 65,000-ton ship is definitely not a simple exercise. Hence, you know, here we are. There's a tug saluting us, which is quite nice. That's why she's spraying water out of the hoses. But what we're going to do today is we're going to ask the Rotterdam local harbour pilots to help us bring the ship in. So they'll be using tugs to push the ship sideways once we get up to the berth. So it's not simple.
Bringing a ship into port is called coming alongside and requires the whole crew's effort to do it safely. And I'm heading down to what they call the forecastle, which is basically the front of the ship.
Hi.
Hiya, I'm Julia.
I'm Liv, nice to meet you.
Olivia Ryder-Maddox is one of the seaman specialists on board. These sailors are the experts when it comes to classic rope work.
This is where we'll be using the lines to come alongside. We'll also be attaching the tug, which is will just be over the head over there.
Yeah.
And that essentially helps us like push, if you know what I mean.
So the tug's really helping this big, massive ship come into port at Rotterdam.
Yeah.
So what order does it all work in?
So usually we start with the tug, which is just over here, which we're about to do if you want to...
Oh, OK, here we go.
It's going to take 6 tugboats to tow in and help park Prince of Wales safely. But first, the ropes need connecting to the tugs, and we need to take up the slack.
This is a very good workout.
Chip away.
Only with the lines now properly attached can the berthing process begin.
It's quite funny that tugs are helping this massive, great, incredible vessel along, isn't it? So being a part of this now is a very important part of today, isn't it? This is probably the most important thing, apart from the captain doing his bit up there.
I mean, if it weren't for us, we wouldn't come in alongside, so...
You can't wait, can you?
Can't wait.
Everyone's so excited about coming alongside. I think Rotterdam's going to be quite lively tonight.
Yes, definitely.
As we steadily make our way into port, you can sense the anticipation building amongst the crew. Life at sea on this incredible vessel is an experience I'll never forget.
What a sight, coming into Rotterdam on an aircraft carrier. You don't see this every day. My time on here has taught me so much about life at sea. The hard work, the sacrifice, the teamwork it requires. And there's no question that this is a hugely impressive ship, but the people, even more so. Well, that's all from us here in Portsmouth. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey through the oldest branch of Britain's armed forces.
Yes, perhaps next time you see a warship on the news or a parade with sailors and Marines like Remembrance Day, perhaps you'll just know a little bit more about who they are and what they've been up to.
It's been an incredible experience for both of us. So before we go, we've just got time to share some highlights.
Good, quick!
There's a lot of pressure to make sure that you don't cock it up.
Name? Chalmers.
You ain't charming me. Get you looking like a Royal Navy chef in no time.
This is catering on a humongous scale.
Have you ironed it?
Yes.
What, with the chock ice?
We'd actually done it and we'd actually scored a direct hit.
All gave some, but some gave all. We will remember them.
Tell me what it feels like.
I'd definitely do it again, but without rum, that might be different.
This is a hugely impressive ship, but the people, even more so.
Come on, JJ!
The engine nearly pulled out, but you didn't, you carried on going. And that is what's important about being a commando. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Take that with you.
Means the world. Goodbye and fallout.
That means you can go.